Good morning. This meeting is called to order. For the record, the time is 11:01 a.m. The day of the week is Tuesday, April 15th, Mike. I've been told by those who know. The commission and staff are appearing in Helena, Montana, in the Bollinger Room of the Montana Public Service Commission. I am Brad Molnar, your presiding chairman for this meeting. Please help me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. For the record, the following commissioners are present. We have Commissioner Wellborn, Commissioner Pinocci, myself, as already introduced, Commissioner Fielder, and Commissioner Bukacek. Therefore, a quorum is present. The Public Service Commission welcomes any comment on any item that is on today's agenda or on any matter that is within the jurisdiction of the Montana Public Service Commission. Are there any public commenters in the room? Aha. Please state your name and who you represent for the record.
Here we go. Mr. President, Commissioners, my name is Kyle Unruh. That's UNRUH. I'm Deputy Director at Renewable Northwest. And we're a 501c3 advocacy organization representing myriad members from law firms to power marketers and purchasers to developers and others. For 30 years, we've been working for socially and environmentally responsible development in the 4 states in the Pacific Northwest. I'm here today to speak to concerns that have been brought both at the Public Service Commission, but also in other public venues recently around wind generation.
Mr. If I could interrupt you right there first. Yep. I will need for you to spell your last name for the record. And secondly, many people have called in about a wind that weren't necessarily advocates. None of those issues does the Public Service Commission have any say over. And I'm assuming by looking at your handouts that might be true here as well. But because others have been allowed to speak, I will allow you to speak. But if we could keep it, 3-5 minutes, something like that, I would appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd be happy to only speak to the issues that I've heard raised right here in the room with the Public Service Commission.
Spell your last name, please.
It is UNRUH.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. So you have 3 handouts I provided. One is a summary of concerns that we've heard stated at the Public Service Commission and in the legislature.
Mr. President, just for clarification, sure. Mr. Unruh, are you speaking to concerns by public commenters or concerns raised by commissioners
Both.
themselves? Okay.
You have a handout speaking to specific concerns about wind generation. We've been close to wind generation in the Pacific Northwest, like I mentioned, for over 30 years. We work with industry leaders in this area, and so we've gathered data to speak to these concerns. I'll step through these efficiently in the interest of time and talk about the role of wind in Montana. We've heard concerns around structural failures and de-icing. While older turbines installed around 40 years ago have run into failures in some instances, newer turbines run into these failures exceedingly rarely due to better materials and better testing. And so newer facilities, that this really isn't a concern, at least at a statistically significant level. And for de-icing, of the hundreds of thousands of wind turbines installed in the world, there's never been anyone injured from de-icing. And furthermore, facilities now have monitoring capability and de-icing capability to make sure that the turbine isn't even spinning, or if it is, it's spinning at a slow speed, which would reduce the risk of any harm to property or people. With regard to property values, we've heard concerns that wind development would decrease property values when wind is in the viewshed. Studies have shown that On average, the impact of property values is around 1.1%. However, there is significant variability between impact properties in urban areas and rural areas, with urban areas seeing higher impact of those property values and rural areas seeing very little impact to property values. We hear about bird deaths in wind turbines. It is true that in the United States, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service estimates around 230,000 birds are killed annually from wind turbines. That said, this is less than 1/2 of 1/10 of 1% of birds who die from window collisions, and far fewer than those that die from other energy sources, power lines, and of course from house cats who are roaming around hunting for birds. I'm intimately familiar with those. Noise, we've heard noise concerns around wind turbines. Wind turbines operate around 55 decibels at a common setback distance of 750 to 1,000 feet. This would be like hearing leaves rustling. And so we found for those property owners who are near facilities, this isn't a major impact to their daily lives or their health. And then the last concern we'll speak to directly is wind development has minimal impact to arable acreage. NREL estimates around 98% of land on wind facility remains arable for agricultural production. And then quickly, I wanted to point out that wind in Montana has a very important role to play. It is playing an important role. It has an even greater role to play potentially. And I wanted to speak to how this ties into economic imperatives for the state. So as of 2023, Montanans paid the highest rates for their electricity of any consumer in the Pacific Northwest. In February 2024, just 1 year ago, REC Silicon, formerly Montana's largest industrial consumer of electricity, announced it would lay off 400 people and shutter its polysilicon business in Butte. The only reason they cited was forecasts for sustained high electricity costs outside of their control. PNUC, the Pacific Northwest Utilities Conference Committee, anticipates 30% load growth by 2033, just 8 years away. The region needs to add around 29 gigawatts of new resources to reliably serve demand. Wind generation, you'll see I have an excerpt from Lazard's Levelized Cost of Energy as one of your handouts, and you'll find that the band around cost for wind generation sits below the cost for any other technology, meaning wind generation is the cheapest source of energy, often costing less to build and operate than the marginal operating cost of conventional generators. You'll notice on that sheet, there are yellow diamonds for conventional generators. Those are the marginal operating costs, and the fixed and marginal operating costs of wind sit below those diamonds in many cases. Wind generation does not pollute and therefore is subject to far less legal and regulatory risk into the future. It has extremely low production cost, which makes it, along with solar generation, the preferred generating technology in regional markets, being dispatched first. Wind and solar generation are delivering significant local revenues to Montana communities, over 57 million in the last 5 years. You'll notice this is the bigger handout you have. On the back, you'll see a summary of revenues by county. And you'll notice the few counties in Montana hosting large projects now are seeing anywhere from roughly 1 to 2/3 of their county budget funded by these revenues. Revenues to landowners are in addition to these county revenues and are roughly commensurate with the county numbers. Wind generation also delivers large transmission revenues and stands to be a major contributor of revenue to beneficial transmission capacity upgrades. And lastly, but also very importantly, Montana is second only to Texas nationally for wind development potential. Whereas Texas has developed over 42 gigawatts of wind generation, Montana has developed around 2 gigawatts of wind generation. In conclusion, counties should absolutely deliberate the value of individual projects and the conditions under which projects should be built. They're best positioned to weigh the relative benefits and drawbacks of each project to their communities. While they deliberate, we can say unequivocally, Montana is well situated to capitalize on its tremendous resource at a time of unprecedented demand, just as it has with other commodities, just as coal, petroleum, timber, and cattle. For Montana to offer affordable, reliable electricity to citizens and industry and the region, it must develop substantially more low-cost, clean generation, just as all neighboring states have done and continue to do. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Unruh.
I'm happy to stand for questions as well.
We don't do questions during public comment. Sir, we've had a request that you leave your contact information, phone number, etc. If you do that with the gal up front, I'd appreciate it. Thank you. Are there any other public commenters in the room? Yep, I see one coming. Please state your name, spell your last name, and tell us who, if anyone, you represent.
Thank you. My name is Shannon Heim, last name H-E-I-M, and I am General Counsel and Vice President for Federal Government Affairs at Northwestern Energy. I appreciate the opportunity to offer brief comments. It has just come to our attention that the Commission voted this morning to postpone our rate review hearing scheduled to commence on April 22nd.
If I might, that would be an item that's docketed and it's actually a contested case. I'm not sure if this would be appropriate. Could you weigh in, please, Lucas?
I'd offer comment on procedural, not substantive.
Mr. President and Commissioners, it is true that as a general matter, the Commission does not allow parties in currently pending contested cases to use the public comment period as an opportunity to advocate for any particular outcome in a proceeding. However, as Ms. Heim just noted, she's here to talk about a matter of procedure, which is, I'd say, different than a matter of lobbying the Commission or advocating for a particular outcome in the proceeding, for what it's worth.
If I could continue. If one is allowed to advocate for a particular outcome and the others are not even present or privy to that, are we still being balanced in our approach?
Mr. President, I appreciate the concern. As I understand it, not knowing what Ms. Heim is about to say, it would not be advocating for an outcome in the proceeding. But I would reiterate that the Commission has established this rule informally in order to better control and allow for opportunities for parties to present and be present when advocacy is being relayed to the Commission. So if you have particular concerns about this, there are, I suppose you have the discretion on how you set the parameters around a public comment period. However, I would again reiterate that the rule is designed to prevent the advocacy for or against a particular outcome in a proceeding, which is, I would say, different in character than the procedural nature of a proceeding.
I would also add that I spoke to every party yesterday on the matter of the procedural motion in this case. And would offer comment.
Stay where you are, Lucas. I think we'll go forward, but if we cross into something that later on could be challenged, I would appreciate a quick response on your part. And we will proceed based on, I assume, that when you talk to these people that we all thought that this was a good that we were about to say would be a proper procedural schedule.
Yes. So my comment is offered obviously only on behalf of Northwestern, but the rate review hearing is scheduled to commence next week on Tuesday. It has been set for 9 months. And so postponing it would be an incredible imposition, in my view, to all parties. We did file a partial electric settlement yesterday, which is what precipitated me speaking to every party yesterday. Sarah Norcott and I spoke to every party about the partial settlement and the due process related to discovery and filing testimony. That's what we spoke to them about, and no one objected to the motion that we filed. I just would urge the commission not to postpone that hearing. There are more than 70 people, 50 witnesses involved and scheduled to be here in front of the commission next week. And rescheduling that hearing would be an incredible imposition for all of those people, many of whom are traveling. We're talking about a 2023 test year. The 270-day deadline, statutory deadline, is scheduled to run May 23rd. For the commission to do their work and reschedule that hearing would be all but impossible. This hearing has been set for an incredible amount of time, and people have put in an incredible amount of effort to get this case put together and to bring it in front of the commission. I would just beseech you not to postpone that hearing. And that was the substance of my comment, all procedural.
Thank you. Lucas, how did I not just hear an advocated outcome?
Mr. President, Commissioners, I'm not sure how to respond to that question, but I would say that we're talking, or at least as I understand Ms. Heim's comment, we're talking about the procedure of when a hearing happens, not what the commission ultimately decides in that hearing, who prevails as a matter of the issues and the positions that they've taken.
I understand that, but an outcome for the question of rescheduling.
I would agree with you, Mr. President. It's advocacy for an outcome with respect to the motion on a procedural matter for the revised procedural schedule.
Okay, well, with that in mind, I would like to thank you, Ms. Hein, for your input. And are there any other commenters in the room? Not seeing any. Are there any commenters online? Okay, there are no pre-registered commenters online. So we will go to announcements. The first announcement is that the commission has appointed Executive Director Alana Lake as the commission's Safety and Security Chair. Ms. Lake will lead the Safety and Security Committees. Also, work session number 4 has been deferred. Seeing no other announcements, do we have an approval of the minutes?
Mr. President, I move approval of the commission minutes for the week of April 7th, 2025.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. The ayes have it. The minutes have been approved. We're now going to begin our work session. Okay, work session number 1, which is Flathead County Utility Company, an application to increase rates to consider a decision on the Flathead Utilities application. Do I hear a motion?
Mr. President, it's customary to have staff go ahead and present the matter and then entertain a motion.
No, I'm aware of that. However, I'm sitting here saying we're not supposed to have discussion until after there's a motion. So, but that's the way we normally do it. So would staff like to give us some information on 2024.04.045?
And Mr. President, just I think the way we've tried to cabin it is the staff interaction with the commission is informational. And
Oh,
then-
okay.
and then once a motion is made, there's debate amongst commissioners themselves, and then the staff pretty much stays out of that.
No, for the first time, I understand that. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Staff.
Thank you, Mr. President and Vice President. Commissioners, before you today is a draft final order on Flathead Utility Company, Inc.'s application to increase rates for its water services near Kalispell, Montana. FLT filed its application on April 8th, 2024, under the Commission's operating ratio methodology simplified regulatory treatment option. FLT subsequently amended its application on several occasions, with the last amendment being filed July 9th. Subsequently, Montana Consumer Council intervened in the matter. The deadline by which the parties could request additional process was January 24th, 2025. No party requested additional process in this matter. As indicated in the draft final order, FLT requests approval to increase rates for its 3 water systems: Country Estates, Hilltop Trace, and Ashley Trail. FLT serves 293 customers. In discovery to FLT, the commission asked FLT to provide invoices supporting expenses claimed on its ORM spreadsheets. In particular, the commission asked for invoices supporting claimed expenses for materials and supplies, utility expense, meter reading services, and repairs and maintenance for each of the 3 water systems claimed on the ORM spreadsheets. The commission asked FLT to provide invoices supporting $36,607 in claimed expenses for Country Estates. FLT provided supporting invoices totaling $4,301, or approximately 12%. For Hilltop Terrace, the commission asked FLT to provide invoices supporting $19,409 in claimed expenses. FLT provided supporting invoices totaling $711, or approximately 4%. For Ashley Trail, the commission asked FLT to provide invoices supporting $6,610 in claimed expenses. FLT provided invoices totaling $228, or approximately 3%. On December 31st, 2024, Paul Schultz, on behalf of MCC, filed written testimony regarding FLT's requested rate increases, recommending the commission deny FLT's request. He asserts the available information is not complete or verifiable enough to determine whether rate increases are justified at this time. In total, the commission asked for invoices supporting $62,626 in expenses claimed on FLT's ORM spreadsheets, but only received $5,240 worth of supporting invoices. Due to the lack of invoices and support provided by FLT, and as recommended by the MCC, the final order in front of you denies the requested rate increases for the 3 systems. Also, you'll note in the final order that FLT requested a waiver of Montana Admin Rule 38.5.2527, numerical 4, subletter P. Staff recommends this waiver be granted, which has no effect on the rates. In closing, staff recommends the commission deny FLT's rate increase and approve waiver of Montana Administrative Rule 38.5.2527, numerical 4, subletter P. With that, I have Ms. Bowski here with me, and we are available to answer any questions. Thank you.
Are there any questions from the commission?
Mr. President, I see no questions from commissioners. I'm prepared to make a motion on this docket.
Please do.
Mr. President, I move that regarding docket 2024.04.045, that the commission deny Flathead FLT's request to increase rates for its 3 water systems, and go ahead and issue the proposed final order with any necessary clerical edits permitted by our staff.
You have heard the motion. Is there a second?
I second.
We have a second. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, Mr. President, it's difficult to be in a position where we have a utility in particular, I believe this one's my district, that obviously has expenses that they have to cover. But I think we've done quite a bit of effort to try to ascertain the expenses so that they could recover their legitimate expenses, and they're just not able to produce the records for us to base a decision on. So I don't see that we have any other option at this point than to deny the requested rate increases, because there's no evidence to base it on, or there's very little. I mean, there's just partial. So I think it's in this order, it's our strong suggestion to the utility that they get their record keeping in order so that they can make a request that we can fully consider and ensure that they are able to recover those valid costs. But until they do that, we just simply can't.
I have a question for staff on this. Is it possible, or are we allowing them recovery of the receipts they could find? It wasn't everything that we asked for, everything that they claimed, but they did find some receipts. Are they entitled to those as being recoverable?
President Molnar, looking at the application as a whole, if we're just looking at the receipts that they provided, it would be less than what rates are currently. And so that's why we're asking for them to support their full rate increase provided in the application, which, as you've seen from the data provided, they have not.
Further question, would they have the capacity if they did come up with the missing receipts? Sounds to me they've got to be in a bank somewhere. Somebody somewhere cashed a check. If they come up with that, can they refile?
President Molnar, that is an option for them. They can refile if they do happen to find those receipts and invoices. They can definitely refile another application and support their increase.
Thank you for that clarification. Is there any other comment? Questions? Seeing none, we have a motion. We have a second. All those in favor of accepting staff's recommendation on 2024.04.045, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. The ayes have it, 5-0 unanimously. Now we have before us 2024.10.108 Montana Dakota Utilities request for approval of update power purchase time differentiated rate 93 to consider raising an additional issue. I see staff moving in and not being one to make the same mistake twice in the same 24-hour period. If you would share with us what we need to know, thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President, and good morning, commissioners. Before you this morning is docket number 2024.10.108, which is Montana Dakota Utilities application to update its standard offer avoided cost rate to qualifying facilities that have a nameplate capacity of 3 megawatts or less. This rate is also known as rate 93 for MDU. The question before you is whether the commission should request additional information from MDU and the MCC regarding the correct online date for MDU's next planned capacity resource. To give you a little background, the capacity payment that is set in rate 93 is based on the clearing price in the MISO capacity auction up until the point MDU identifies in its IRP that it will need to make a capacity resource addition. At that point, the capacity payment is based on the levelized cost of a peaker natural gas unit. So the date that is identified in MDU's IRP as to when MDU will need to acquire an additional capacity resource has a direct impact on the capacity payment that is set in rate 93. MDU filed its application in this docket on October 21st, 2024. On October 25th of the same year, the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission approved a new capacity accreditation methodology proposed by MISO, known as the Direct Loss of Load, or DLOL, capacity accreditation method. The DLOL method aims to better account for how different resources contribute to grid reliability during stressed periods. The method generally reduces the amount of capacity that is accredited to MDU resources and moves closer MDU's need to acquire additional capacity. Also, at a public meeting held on March 5th, 2025, MDU announced it had signed a power purchase agreement for 150 megawatts of output from a wind resource that had been identified as an opportunity late in the 2023 IRP planning cycle. MDU filed an addendum to its 2023 IRP with the Commission on March 25th, 2025. The addendum provides additional modeling analysis regarding the 150 megawatt wind PPA. Based on information in the addendum, with the 150 megawatt wind PPA included in MDU's portfolio, MDU's capacity need is pushed out from 2027 to 2033. Because of this, staff recommends the commission issue a notice of additional issue in this docket, which requests the parties to file testimony on the appropriate online date for MDU's next capacity resource addition. And that concludes my introduction, Mr. President, and I'm available for questions, as is Amanda.
Amanda, did you have any comments?
I have nothing to add. Thank you.
Okay, are there any questions from commissioners on this? I have one. Okay, March 28th, 2024, there's a letter to Mr. Rosequist on the Badger Wind addendum. Are they am I correct in assuming that this is going to go into their IRP and then they would come to us for rate making or authorization? It's certainly not a pre-approval request. Will this ever come before us for approval at all?
President Molnar and commissioners, I believe the date on that letter should be March 28th, 2025 regarding the addendum to the integrated resource plan. The commission held listening sessions in the beginning of March regarding the IRP and is currently taking comments regarding the IRP, which would include this addendum. And my understanding is that staff is working on preparing comments on the IRP and the addendum, which will be brought before the commission at some point in the future for the commission's approval.
Okay. So if it comes for our approval, then do we say we approve this, don't approve that, or is it like most IRPs in which we simply say what we think, but we really don't have any capacity to enforce what we think?
President Molnar, commissioners, that's generally correct. The commission's comments do not approve or deny anything that's proposed in the IRP.
No wonder. Okay, well, thank you very much. Are there any further questions from the commissioners? Seeing none, do I hear a motion to approve the update to the power purchase time differentiated rate 93 to consider raising an additional issue? Commissioner Panucci,
I'll make a motion to support staff recommendations.
is there a second?
I'll second.
So motion, we have a second. Is there any discussion? I guess my discussion would be that this is an appropriate consideration, and what they do, they're going to do, and we will be able to comment on it when the time is appropriate. Therefore, I also will support the motion to support staff's recommendation. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Passed. Item number 3, 2025.02.017, Commission initiated amendment of ARM 38.3405 and 38.3406 pertaining to the completion of protest applications for Motor Carrier Authority to consider adoption of the proposed protest verification rulemaking. We've had this before us before in a couple of iterations. Would you care to tell us exactly what's before us at this moment?
Mr. President, I'm sorry to interrupt, but in the announcements, did you announce that we were deferring work session number 4?
I did.
Okay, thank you.
Back to number 3.
Thank you, President Molnar and commissioners. Before you is a draft notice of adoption to finalize the amendment of Montana Administrative Rules 38.3.405 and 38.3.406 pertaining to the completion of protests for Motor Carrier Operating Authority. This will require protests to be verified instead of notarized, which will match the verification requirement that we now have for motor carrier applications. As you may recall, in February of this year, the commission voted to propose this rulemaking. A proposal notice was published in the Montana Administrative Register. Then during a 28-day public comment period, we were open to take public comments, and no comments or other requests regarding this rulemaking were received. Staff recommends approving the draft notice because this matter is uncontested and will make the protest process more efficient while still ensuring that protests will be signed and confirmed as true and correct. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have at this time. Thank you.
Are there any questions from commissioners? Seeing none. Do I hear a motion on 2025.02.017, the amendment to ARM 38.3.405 and 38.3.406 pertaining to the completion of protests to applications for Motor Carrier Authority to consider adoption of the proposed protest verification rulemaking?
I so move.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I second.
We have a lot of seconds. Is there any discussion? Seeing none. All in favor? the adoption of proposed protest verification and rulemaking, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, same sign. Carries 5-0. Number 4 has been taken out for today. And number 5, commission initiated organizational rule update to consider amendment to ARM 38.1.101. Staff's statement at this time.
Thank you, President Molnar. Next before you is a draft red line amendment to Montana Administrative Rule 38.1.101, which is the Department of Public Service Regulations organizational rule, which describes how the agency operates and how the public can get information and make requests. Because this rule contains a list of the elected commissioners for each district, this rule is updated every year after an election. Notably, the public notice and hearing requirements applicable in normal rulemaking proceedings do not apply to this organizational rule. So if approved today, this amendment will be filed with the Secretary of State's office for a direct update of the rule. Staff recommends approving the draft red line, which updates the list of current commissioners at the bottom of page 4 and makes a handful of clerical edits throughout to improve readability and consistency. I'd be happy to answer any questions at this time. Thank you.
Are there any questions from commissioners? Commissioner Fielder?
Just one, Amanda. Is it required that the individual commissioners' names are listed in there? At one point, I thought we were just going to list District 1, District 2, District 3, District 4, District 5, and then just commissioner as a generic term rather than have individual names. So in the future, we didn't necessarily have to come back and just for that clerical update. Is it permitted?
Vice President Fielder, you're correct. It's not required that each individual commissioner's name is listed.
I'm fine with the red line as it is, Mr. President, but it might be something the commission wants to make more generic in the future.
Are there any other statements from commissioners? Having been moved and seconded and discussed.
Did we move it?
Oh, I thought we did move it. Okay, we've do I hear a motion on 2025.04.029 organizational rule update to consider amendment to ARM 38.1.101? Do I hear a motion?
I so move.
Yeah, I have a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
I hear a second. Is there any discussion from the commission?
I'll just chime in a little comment, Mr. President. It's nice to see the clerical updates happening in our rulemaking. 4 years ago, we were in the position where our rules had not been gone through, some for decades, and staff has been doing an excellent job at getting caught up and staying on top of our updates in our administrative rules. And this is another example of that. So I appreciate their efforts and just this rule actually isn't that old. I mean, it's an old rule, but it was updated in 2021 and again in 2022 as part of our strategic planning work. So I'm happy to see the proposed improvements today. Thank you.
And if I might, it's not really on the issue, but it's on what you just said. I've served under many commissions. They change every 2 years, as you know. And this is one of the most professional staffs I've worked under, and I appreciate all of your efforts. So, are there any other comments? Yep.
I would just like to go on the record with my gratitude as well, Mr. President. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions from the commissioners? Seeing none. We have a motion that's been seconded. All those in favor of updating our organizational rule to consider amendment to ARM 38.1.101, say aye.
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 Those opposed say aye, or those opposed, same sign. 5-0. Legislative update. To discuss bills relevant to the PSC mission, statutory authority, administrative process, and general agency concerns, discuss the PSC budget request, presentation, consider staff analysis and recommendations, provide directions on PSC response to bills. I see Alana Lake is sitting in for Trevor. Alana, take it away.
Good morning, Mr. President. Good morning, commissioners. Today I'll be providing your legislative update of note. Today is the first day that the session could end, but rumor has it that it'll most likely be next week or the week following. We'll go on to review previous actions. So House Bill 45, this is the bill to generally revise telecommunications regulation laws. This bill passed the Senate and awaits House approval of Senate amendments. And of note, House Bill 45 is the Commission's final legislative agenda item awaiting passage. House Bill 490, this revises civil liability laws. This was passed out of the Senate and awaits House approval of Senate amendments. House Bill 911, this revises the meaning of the term public utility. This bill amends the definition of the public utility to allow utilities to operate on unregulated subsidiaries for the purpose of providing power to large customers. This is scheduled for hearing in Senate Energy today. Senate Bill 301, this generally revises utility lines and facilities laws. This provides for a certificate of public necessity for transmission projects and a pre-approval process for transmission rate making. Senate Bill 301 passed second reading in the House on April 14th. Senate Bill 561, this bill revises Public Service Commission membership. This passed the Senate on a 34-14 vote on April 5th. The bill was heard on Wednesday, April 9th at 8 a.m. in the House State Administration Committee. And this bill actually just died in the House State Administration Committee 7-12 vote this morning. House Bill 2, this is the General Appropriations Act. House Bill 2 was passed out of the Senate Finance and Claims and awaits its Senate floor hearing. The commission did provide an amendment titled the Caseload Contingency Fund. This calls for $500,000 per year over the next biennium. It failed on an 11-11 vote in the Senate Finance and Claims Committee. There was rumor that this was brought up again in the committee. It did not, but it has been brought to the Senate as a proposed floor amendment tomorrow. And we'll just go ahead and review our past legislative agenda for the session as we're coming to a close here. As you will recall, Senate Bill 22, this revises Class D motor carrier deadline laws. This was signed by the governor and a chapter number is assigned for that bill. Senate Bill 23, this increases thresholds for railroad accident reporting requirements. It was transmitted to the governor and awaits signature, so it is on his desk. Senate Bill 51, this revises telecommunications provider registration laws. This bill was signed by the governor and a chapter number was assigned. And upcoming hearings, just one lone hearing remaining for issues that affect the commission. House Bill 911, again, this revises the meaning of the term public utility. That is scheduled for the Senate Energy Committee today at 3 p.m., room 405. If you will recall, the commission previously voted to oppose this bill for a number of reasons, which I'm happy to review. I believe the president indicated he will be speaking at that hearing today in opposition of that bill. So if there's any discussion from the commission on this issue, now would be the time to discuss that. And pending any questions, that is my full update for today.
Thank you, Alana. I see people turning on their lights. Are there any questions of Alana or comments on what she said?
A comment and then a question, Mr. President. So thank you, Alana, for the update. I like seeing this, the bottom of the sheet here that has been distributed to us. 3 out of our 4 agency bills that we've been working on have been signed into law by the governor. So excellent work to our commission and staff that shepherded those through. Last session, we had one particular agency bill that we thought was fairly simple and it got hung up. And that's the one that's still in process right now, as I understand it, the telecommunication regulation cleanup bill. So hopefully that one can move along without any trouble this session as well. House Bill 2 still has the 2 additional railway inspectors in it, right?
Yes, Vice President, that is correct.
Okay. So House Bill 2 has what we asked for, including, but added 2 railway inspectors, and that was something the interim committee recommended and we supported. but it does not have the one FTE that we had requested for administrative support in the regulatory division, correct?
That is correct as of the latest update, yes.
And is there any news on where that is at and whether we're gaining support for properly staffing the regulatory division?
That's a great question, Vice President. I know Trevor is currently up there right now, so perhaps he will be able to provide an update when he returns.
Thank you. And then regarding House Bill 911, I'm aware the president is planning to speak on that today. Who's our designated actual lead person on that? Is it still Trevor or are you taking that? Or?
Trevor asked me to take the lead. He said he would be there. I've asked him for some talking points. I will get with Lucas later on the legality. I spent a good hour with him this morning to make sure that everything I say is correct. And I have 3 handouts, one of which is that we just did a ring fencing in 2023, and this takes away basically all capacity to ring fence there because they say they're no longer a public utility. However, they will be controlled by a public utility, and as Lucas and I discussed this morning, any debts they would incur as basically an independent power producer could flow up and affect customers, and I think the committee needs to understand that.
Well, I think you answered my question and then some. Thank you, Mr. President.
I'm very thorough. I never, just for what it's worth, I don't think I've ever gone before any committee without first checking with legal to make sure that everything I'm saying is exactly correct. I've never sent out a letter. Lucas helped me with a letter last time. Redlined a good chunk of it. He said I brought levity to his day, and I accepted all his amendments. So I'm very careful to make sure that whatever I say is not easily controvertible.
President?
Madam, I'm sorry, Commissioner.
The House Energy hearings on 9/11 and 877, they were back to back on the 31st of March. And I think it would be edifying for everybody to listen to it because the proponents and opponents both had very, I think, persuasive arguments.
Well, I didn't think the others were all that persuasive when you look at the law and the outcomes. To say that the Public Service Commission can have rules, we have rules, and those all be struck, and we can't put them back in. And we need to understand that.
Highly edifying, both proponents and opponents. And I just also wanted to say House Bill 490, I think that's one of the most important bills, and I'm glad it passed, just waiting for the governor's signature. One of the most important bills for our goal to keep the lights and heat on at the best possible price.
Okay, any other comments? Any questions?
Mr. President?
Commissioner?
Yes, I could make a motion. I want to express my concerns about the cancellation of the hearing next week. I understand, we were rushed this morning. We got the word 15 minutes before our scheduling meeting. Nobody likes to be pressured. I'm very empathetic toward the staff for what it would take to get questions done by tomorrow at midnight. I get that. I also understand, the expense and the trouble of all those people that were scheduled for next week. So I was hoping maybe we could have another scheduling meeting and just have a little more time to think about this.
Is that a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to rediscuss scheduling for next week.
Is there a second to the motion to rediscuss scheduling for next week? There's a motion. Is there a second to rediscuss our decision on scheduling for next week? Seeing none. So I believe, see, you're done. So actually get a twofer. We get the next business meeting and an announcement all in one. The next commission business meeting is scheduled for April 22nd because of the rescheduling of the hearing that we just discussed. And that will be at 1 o'clock in the afternoon to allow people to travel to be here after the Easter weekend.
Mr. President, just a slight correction to that. So the scheduling meeting is at 1 p.m. and the business meeting's at 1:30 p.m.
You heard it? You heard it here live. You should have written that down. Okay, you know how I am. So that concludes this meeting. Seeing no further business to come before the commission, the recorded time is 11:50 a.m. and the month, day, and year is April -7, 15th, tax day. This meeting is adjourned.